Look, I reckon Caitlin Clark is going to be even better coming into the season. Just look at her arms.
The reason Caitlin Clark sent shockwaves through the WNBA isn't just that she's still throwing logo 3es like their layups. This time, the talk is about her body rather than her shooting. Clark went into the offseason with the goal of gaining strength and bulking up so that she could return as a more explosive version of herself. Now that she looks like a whole new beast, one guy is probably regretting his previous shade. Geno Auriemma and Diana Taurasi, UConn's own, stated it best. This kid is in for a rude awakening. They all rushed over her without reading what she said, but no one is writing it. So, Diana Taurasi was correct. If you're a WNBA player or any other type of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement. This child is a rookie on the wrong team and lacks the skill set necessary to handle the brutality of that league. It turns out that Caitlin wasn't simply prepared for the hits. She absorbed them, processed the information, and effectively transformed herself back into a monster. Geno couldn't resist downplaying Clark's ability to handle WNBA physicality at that smug little we'll see if she can take the hits routine.
And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement.
Let's discuss the trip that in addition to being a baptism by fire, Clark's debut season was also rather remarkable. Defensive players like Kennedy Carter, DJ Junie Carrington, and of course Angel Ree not only scored goals but also pushed her down, shoved her, hacked her, and generally treated her like a human punching bag. It wasn't defense. Rather, it was a crash lesson in full-contact basketball, and if you didn't know any better, you would assume the league had a bounty out for her.
Well, Geno Auriemma was talking about Caitlin Clark and Paige being the same build. Yeah, they're not the same build.
Even though some players spent the offseason lounging, Clark never broke, never retaliated, and simply kept getting up, draining shots, and doing what she does best, make people look foolish. The critics believed the hits would break her spirit, but instead they sparked a transformation.
There's a hot topic going on right now. Caitlin Clark says she got cheap shotted against the sky. Throughout the season, she's been getting beat up. Hard screens, elbows, knocked down.
And yet...
Okay, guys, we're going to start a little TikTok weight room vlog to show you what we do. Get the butt down, okay? Speed, okay, Steve? Oh, she's strong. That's our lift, guys. We're strong. The end result is a new, bulked-up version of the league's most dangerous player. Her arms are sculpted. Her core is steel. Her presence on the court is commanding, and for the coaches who questioned her toughness, this is your official I was wrong moment.
All right, guys, we're starting a little TikTok weight room vlog. We're going to show you what we do. Get the butt down. Okay, speed. Okay, speed. Oh, she is strong. All right, guys, that's our lift. We are strong. Okay, we're actually strong. What?
One of the top and most well-known basketball players in the world right now, Caitlin Clark, worked extremely hard during the offseason to gain 8 pounds of muscle to give herself an advantage on both the offensive and defensive ends of the court. It was evident that her efforts paid off, as she was able to play tougher on ball defense and finish better around the rim. The shift, she isn't just more resilient. She's a totally different athlete today, stronger, faster, sharper, and this time she's not just surviving the physicality. She's dishing it out, as Stephanie White, her coach with the Indiana Fever, has already mentioned.
So Caitlin Clark is one of the best and well-known basketball players on the planet right now. And this past offseason, she worked really hard to add 8 pounds of muscle to her frame to give her an additional edge on the offensive and defensive ends of the court. And it clearly paid off because she was able to finish around the rim better and play tougher on ball.
The days of defenders pushing her off her spots are over. Now, she makes contact, posts up smaller guards, absorbs blows, completes plays, and still launches logo bombs. But now she does so as defenders bounce off her like foam pads.
Well, a lot of stuff yesterday, a lot of people were talking about it. Just how much bigger Caitlin Clark has gotten. That's all people are talking about. So obviously, if you're looking at the picture with her with Serena Williams, like her arms look a little bit bigger, but it's kind of hard to tell from.
However, It's insane how much larger Caitlin Clark's arms are than they were the previous year. It's like seeing a live-action Marvel origin story. Imagine what happens when you give someone who is already the league's worst problem power, stamina, and confidence. Rookie Clark was already lighting up the scoreboard and is now grinning while playing volleyball.
Like, how much bigger Caitlin Clark's arms are than last year. It's mad.
And we've seen it more and more throughout this offseason, such as photos of Caitlin Clark's growth in size. It's a clear indication that she is making progress toward being healthy and no longer the skinny guard who is deemed to be nowhere near as big as she is now. And let's not overlook the poetic justice Geno Auriemma, who hasn't coached a player of Clark's caliber in 10 years, had the gall to doubt her capacity to keep up physically. In the meantime, Clark simply became the living example of how to turn adversity into dominance. I hope he's taking in the view from irrelevance now that Clark is leading the league.
We've seen it again more and more throughout this offseason, like pictures of Caitlin Clark, just how much she is bulked up. And again, it's a sign of somebody that is very clearly working her way towards being, well, no longer the skinny guard that they said was not big enough.
Every team who believed they had her figured out ended up having to come up with different defensive strategies. The truth is that Caitlin's game becomes more unstoppable the stronger she gets. Her passes become sharper, her cuts more explosive, and she's moving through defenders like she has a force field surrounding her. This isn't just an off-season glow-up. It's a declaration that Clark isn't here to play along. She's here to dominate. You can't body her out of games anymore, and you can't rough her up and expect her to fold. She's stronger, smarter, and she still has that unbreakable chip on her shoulder.
Geno, baby, if Caitlin Clark is on the team, it becomes the right team. Because Caitlin Clark is on it. It's like saying Michael Jordan's not on the right team. It's the right team if Michael Jordan is on the roster.
Because Caitlin Clark didn't just react to the league's aggression. She took it, flipped it, and turned it into fuel. Now that the WNBA is about to face the consequences, if you're a defender considering getting physical with her in 2025, good luck. She's not just waiting for the hits anymore. She's meeting you at the point of impact. Geno Auriemma may want to start taking notes.
I gotta ask you a basketball question. Yeah. I know that you work really hard in the off-season. You said yesterday you're always trying to get better. Mm-hmm. What's the thing that you're working on in this off-season?
I think, honestly, besides the actual basketball skill part of it, I think getting stronger. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm in the weight room a lot, just building that strength. Obviously, it was hard going right from the college season to the professional season. You don't get to spend a lot of time in the weight room. So that's what I've tried to focus on the most here. And then obviously, a lot of things on the court. I'm always wanting to get better, and that's kind of what drives me, and I love it. I love getting to do it, and I feel very fortunate that it's my job.
If anyone thought they had Caitlin Clark figured out after the previous season, they're in for a very rude awakening. She's not returning as the same player. Rather, she's returning as if she hit a cheat code in the offseason. This isn't just a player getting ready for year 2. It's a complete evolution. The WNBA as a whole just received a reality check. Clark is determined to leave her mark with the greatest of all time, and she isn't content to just have another successful season. This change is not your normal one. It's the kind of off-season that legends are made on, so I worked out a little.
Like, Caitlin Clark has... I hope that Caitlin Clark has not put on... Because, in fairness, she doesn't look like there's too much size being put on. But compared to last season, how much bulk she has put on. You would hope, again, for a Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark is built like a sock.
I don't think it will have an impact on the speed at which she plays, because if you watch Caitlin Clark play, you'll notice that she moves much more quickly here than she does physically, and that's one of the things I don't think people really understand. The big question is, can Clark bring this new power into real game action? The answer is already written in bold letters: yes. Clark has improved every aspect of her game. The Caitlin Clark that WNBA defenders bumped and bruised last year is no longer there. Instead, she is a tougher, meaner, and much more complete player who will give defenders nightmares.
Enough, I don't think it's going to have effect on the pace that she plays at, because if you watch Caitlin Clark play, the pace that she plays at is more here. Like, Caitlin Clark is much faster here than she is like physically, and that's one of the things I don't think people really know.
Her speed, unending range, and jaw-dropping no assists from the previous season were all that mattered, but now she's added physicality that makes her a matchup hazard. One of the most obvious changes is that the defenders who used to try to body her up to throw her off balance are now the ones being pushed off balance. In her post-up game, Clark has been living in the paint this offseason, learning how to seal off defenders, absorb hits, and finish with strength. She's not just avoiding contact, she's actively seeking it out. Consider that the player who was once chased by physical defenders is now the one dishing it back, and the league is frantically trying to adapt.
She's built like a long distance runner, like her natural build, which is why there hasn't been too many injuries. She's got that elasticity that doesn't seem to really be too common as far as WNBA players are concerned. Like, considering whether it be WNBA in college, she doesn't put that much force through her legs considering how much speed she uses. Like, there's not that much change of direction. She's just downhill at once.
The league isn't ready for Caitlin 3.0, according to someone. Let's go, admin. I love you. Caitlin put some weight on, bro. She definitely got in the weight room, and it shows that she put a lot of muscle on. I think that's what the biggest difference is that we're seeing out of Caitlin going into this upcoming season. When she drives, it's no longer about dodging bumps or flailing for foul calls. Instead, she's powering through defenders, finishing with both hands, and converting those difficult layups she used to miss. This isn't finesse anymore, it's force. The transformation isn't just about adding strength, it's about removing any exploitable weakness. She is now the one setting the tone and physically directing how the game is played, unlike before opponents thought they could wear her down by bumping her hard during every possession and trying to irritate her into making poor shots or turning over.
Somebody said the league is not ready for Caitlin. 3.0 MVP is hers. Let's go. Fever admin, I love you. Caitlin put some weight on, bro. She definitely got in the weight room. And, like, I don't think Caitlin put weight on. I think Caitlin put a lot of muscle on. I think that's what the biggest difference is that we're seeing out of Caitlin. You know, going into this upcoming season, I think Caitlin put a bunch of muscle on, and it shows. It shows within her, you know, her body frame. It shows that her arms is bigger and her thighs is way wider. She definitely put some.
In college, Caitlin Clark wasn't the strongest player in the world. She wasn't weak by any means, but we saw that she was kind of unable to physically establish herself in the WNBA. Additionally, Clark's development is evident in her passing game, as her increased power allows her to hold opponents on her hip for longer, manage space, and squeeze passes through narrower windows while forming angles that weren't even there prior to being trapped by two defenders. But this is where Clark truly sets herself apart from the others. She's not satisfied with improvement in a single area, she's fixing everything. Remember that workout video that went viral on social media with millions of views in a single day? It wasn't just for show, it was a preview of the storm to come. No problem. Clark powers through the needle and hits a shooter right in the pocket.
So Caitlin Clark in college was not the strongest player in the world. Like, she was somebody that wasn't weak by any means, but we saw when it came to the WNBA that she wasn't able to really assert herself physically.
If you guys watch this exercise, you know that Caitlin Clark is focusing on her shortcomings head-on, which has a lot of people thrilled. I believe it looks good. Honestly, I think that's a really, really good look for her, because again, we were seeing somebody working on their weaknesses, and not the glamorous weaknesses. Let's break it down. First, ball handling under extreme pressure. Last year, Clark led the league in turnovers, some of that her teammates not being able to handle the heat on her passes. But a lot of it came from intense double teams and defenders swarming her every possession. So what's she doing working through it, sharpening her handle? getting lower faster and more controlled. She's making sure those defenders won't even get a chance to trap her this time around. Second, her mid-range game. Everyone knows Clark can launch it from the logo or finish at the rim. But what about that awkward in-between zone? The one-spot defenders tried to funnel her into not anymore. She's drilling floaters, working on pull-ups, and making sure she has a counter for every defensive coverage. Now there's no spot on the floor that's safe to give her space. And third, finishing through contact. This is huge. Clark has never shied away from going to the rim, but last year it meant taking hits. Some clean, some not so much. But this offseason, she's taking that contact in practice training with resistance, simulating game-like collisions. So she's not just surviving them, but finishing through them. Have you noticed her arms? That muscle isn't just for show. It's part of the plan. Clark has strengthened her game from top to bottom, ensuring that she remains unfazed when defenders enter with elbows, body checks, or slaps across her forearm.
If you guys saw this workout has gotten a lot of people excited for Caitlin Clark because she is like directly working on her weaknesses, which I think is a good look. Honestly, I think that's a really, really good look for her because, again, when we're seeing somebody working on their weaknesses and not the glamour